Hi, my name is Dan Palmer. I've been a platinum goldsmith here in Portland, Oregon since 1981. I specialize in making handmade wedding bands of all types. I'm going to show you guys how to make a platinum band from scratch using recycled materials and made the old-fashioned way before CNC machines were around. Platinum is the coolest metal ever to work with. It's got some really good characteristics. Let's get to it. Alright, so here we are. What I'm using today is an alloy that is 95.5% pure platinum and 4.5% ruthenium. Got some leftover pieces from other bands that I made, and that's what we're going to use today. Now you want to make sure that you have a dedicated crucible for melting just for platinum. I have one for platinum, white golds, yellow golds. Alright, so we have our platinum loaded in here. Now platinum melts at a very high temperature. It's roughly about 1780 degrees Celsius. Now you don't really need a fancy torch. You need a big one though. This is about the smallest you'd want to go for melting this size of a melt. If you've never poured an ingot before, one really important factor is you need to heat this mold up. You need to drive all the moisture off, otherwise you're going to have an explosion. And you certainly don't want to send $2,000 worth of platinum flying through the air. Not to mention getting hurt. So here we go. It's pretty darn hot. Let it cool down right there. Now this brings me to my first point about platinum and its characteristics. Platinum does not oxidize. You do not need to use any type of flux. As you can see, it's bright and shiny. You can heat it up bright red as many times as you want, and it'll always come back like that. And that is a very cool thing if you ask me. And that is what we're going to make our rings out of. Now, if you notice, this has a pretty good shrinkage line right down the middle. When you pour an open ingot like that, you almost always get that, but we're going to have to work this bar over a little bit before we start to roll it. And what we're going to do is we're going to melt it right across the top, weld it in, make it nice and smooth. Once again, we're going to need a nice hot flame, so I'll put a bigger tip on here. And we're just going to weld it all the way across the top. And that reminds me, another important factor about platinum is it has very low thermal conductivity, which means we can do what we just did without melting the whole thing into a blob. Trying to see how smooth I got that? There we go. Just quench it in the water here. Alright, so you want to inspect your ingot, make sure there's no inclusions of any kind, no cracks, and it looks real good. Alright, so we've poured our ingot, and now we're going to head over to the rolling mill. Now today we're going to make a 6x2mm half round comfort fit band. It's a very classic style, never goes out of style. This is a Durston 152, by the way. It's the biggest hand mill they make. So now we're going to take our ingot that we've poured, and we're going to roll it down to the size square stock that we need. And we're going to start by putting it through these doors. There's a few pointers. You always rotate your stock corner to corner. Our goal here is to get a nice square stock going. So we're going to progressively roll it through here, keep raising our die. You can see we've got ourselves a nice square bar. We've rolled it to the dimension we need to roll it to, and now we're ready to roll it flat. But first we're going to anneal it. As you roll the metal, it sets up a grain structure, and it gets harder and harder as you roll it. So you need to anneal it to relieve all the stress and realign all the molecules. So we're going to take it back over to the bench here, and we're going to heat it up red hot to anneal it. Now you don't have to get it super hot, just keep it red. On platinum, about that red right there is perfect. Nice cherry red. And that's all there is to it. As you can see, it's not quite perfectly squared, so we want to make sure we have a nice straight bar to go with. We're going to forge it a little bit. Alright, so now we have a nice straight bar. We can go go to our next operation and we're going to roll this flat to the dimension that we want. Alright, now we've got our flat dimension. We have a rectangle shaped bar now. And once again we got to go back and we got to anneal it because it's gotten very hard. Now you're going to want to inspect your bar all the way along the way. Make sure there's no cracks appearing. If something does happen at this point, it's easily fixable, especially with platinum. And it looks real good. We're going to straighten it again. Alright, on to the next operation. So what we have here is a very special rolling mill. As you can see, we have all kinds of different dies we can roll through here. We have 6, 7, 8, and 9 millimeter half rounds on here. I can make my bands to the exact dimensions that I need to make them. A lot of times people will want a real wide half round band, and the corresponding mills that you can buy now don't really do that. Smaller half rounds. Close her up. We're in business. Her stock is just a little bit skinnier than the 6 millimeters that we were looking for. So we've got it to our dimensions. Now back to annealing. Now we're ready to make a ring. This particular ring is going to be about a size 8.5, 9. So we need 63 millimeters worth of stock to make our ring. So we're going to go ahead and mark that. As you can see, we got a little bit crooked. We're going to go ahead and straighten her out again. Nice and straight. Now I have my stock marked to the right length here. So I'm going to go ahead and bend it. As you can see, we have our little bends there. And now we're going to bend it the rest of the way. It's round, but it's not perfect yet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put it on our ring mandrel. Go ahead and then we're going to go ahead and run the saw through it a couple times to make that thing perfect. We want that thing flush. Just enough pressure to stay together, but not any tension. I'm going to use a welding solder that melts and flows about 60 degrees Celsius less than the melting point of the metal. We're cutting little pieces of the metal solder. Now, just like any other soldering operation, if you're familiar with soldering, you want to draw the solder to the heat. You don't want to push it with the heat. I always like it when a plan comes together. Got a real nice flow right there. Now we're just going to sand just a little bit of excess solder off of there. Alright, so we've gotten all the solder off the inside that we want. Stick it on the mandrel. And we're going to beat the crap out of it, basically. At this point, I like to stamp my rings. Barely take that little bit of extra solder off of there. Now I prefer to polish mine by hand. I think it's a little faster and a little better. Now we're going to move on to polishing the whole ring. Platinum is, like I said, very wear resistant. Studies have shown that it's as much as 30% more durable. I think it's quite a bit more than that because it takes me almost 4 times as long to polish a platinum ring as it does for me to polish a gold ring. Taking it out of the cleaner, we're going to steam it off. Alright, looks good. Well, we have a brand new 6x2 Comfort Fit Platinum band. I hope you found the video fun and informative. If you want to see any of my other work, you can see me at ravensrefuge.com or ravensrefuge.etsy.com. And I sure enjoyed doing the video, and I hope you all found it useful. I think I'm ready for a beer.